Hello, and welcome back. In this lecture, we'll learn how to link CircleCI with our GitHub repository to set up a continuous integration workflow. The CircleCI build steps are defined in a config.yaml file in a directory called .circleci, which should be checked in to the root directory of the Git repository. I have already uploaded the configuration YAML file to the GitHub repository. Let's check out the repository and take a look at what the configuration file looks like. You can go to the forked Docker app repository under your GitHub account. Make sure you go to the forked repository under your GitHub ID, not the original one. Otherwise, you wouldn't have permissions to push changes to the repository. And click the clone or download button, which displays the git clone URL for you to download the repository. Here, you need to select using SSH instead of using HTTPS. Next, just click the clipboard icon to copy the URL to your clipboard. Then we go back to the terminal and do git clone and paste the URL. Then put -b v0.6 so the Git will download repository locally and checkout tag v0.6. After the download is complete, let's enter the Docker app repository and open it with Sublime text. As you see, we have added a config.yaml file in a directory called .circleci. Let's open the YAML file. Next, let me quickly walk you through what the configuration YAML file does. We always start with the version. This version 2 defines that we're using the version 2 format of CircleCI, which uses the most recent feature of CircleCI at the time when I recorded this lecture. Next, we have a jobs key. Every config file must have a build job. This is the only job that will be automatically picked up and run by CircleCI. In the job, we specify a working directory. This path will be used as the default working directory for the rest of the job unless otherwise specified. Directly beneath working directory, we'll specify primary container images for this job under Docker. In this section, we define the Circle environment. This environment is where our steps will be executed. On CircleCI, all the tests will be running inside containers. And in this container, we'll spin up our Docker app at Redis containers and run our tests. So basically, it's a container inside container. Sometimes we call it Docker in Docker. Now, we need to define the CI environment, which is the outside container. What we want is a Docker image that installs Docker and has Git. These requirements are satisfied by using Docker 7.05.0-c-git image, which is an official Docker image. When an image has the suffix -git, it means Git is pre-installed. By using this image, you ensure you're always using the latest Docker client. Now, we need to add several steps within the build job. The checkout step will check out the source code from GitHub to the working directory we have already defined. To build Docker images for deployment, we must use a special set of remote Docker key, which creates a separate environment for each build for security. This environment is remote, fully isolated, and has been configured to execute Docker commands. In general, if our build requires Docker or Docker Compose commands, we should add the setup remote Docker step into your .circleci config YAML file. Next, we install the Docker Compose in the CI environment through a Python-based package manager called pip. But pip is not pre-installed in the CI environment, so we'll need to install pip as well. Finally, we're ready to bring up our Docker containers and run our tests inside the containers. Now it is time to link CircleCI with your GitHub account. Here I am at the CircleCI website. Let's click Login. Then click Sign in with GitHub. If you have logged into a GitHub account in the same browser, you will be automatically logged into CircleCI. If not, try logging into a GitHub account first in the same browser before trying to log into CircleCI. Now we're inside CircleCI. What we're going to do is to add a new CircleCI project to run our tests. Click the Project tab, then click Add Project. Now, we go with the default options. We'll be running the test in Linux containers, and we'll go with CircleCI 2.0. Then we scroll down and click Start Building. So just give you a heads up that this build would fail, so don't be surprised to see a red failed build. I will explain why in a minute. I'm fast forwarding the video until the build is complete. Now, as you see, the build failed at logging into the Docker Hub step. This is because this build is running against the latest master branch, which includes publishing to Docker Hub. However, we won't inject the Docker Hub logging credentials to CircleCI until the next lecture. Thus, this build failed as CircleCI can't find the correct Docker Hub logging credentials. There is no action needed from you, just follow along. We'll fix it soon. So far, we have demoed how to manually trigger the build. As we mentioned before, the whole purpose of continuous integration is that a build will automatically triggered when a commit is pushed to the central repository, so that if a defect is introduced to the code base, it can be identified and corrected as soon as possible. Let's prove that in a second. What we're going to do next is to check out a new branch of the v0.6 tag and make some dummy changes and push the changes to the central repo. We expect to see a new build automatically triggered, and this build should be green. This is because unlike master branch, v0.6 tag doesn't contain the publish to Docker Hub logic. Let's check out v0.6 tag first. Then we check out a new Git branch from our local repository. Just call it test-ci. And add a dummy file and commit it to Git. Then let's push the commit to GitHub. Oops, we need to set up the upstream branch for a newly created local branch. Just copy and run the git push command suggested by Git. After the push is complete, let's switch back to the CircleCI dashboard and refresh the page. See what happens? A new build is already running on CircleCI. This build should succeed. It proves our continuous integration workflow is set up correctly. CircleCI keeps monitoring our GitHub repository, and a build will be triggered automatically whenever new changes are pushed into the GitHub repository. Now, as expected, this build completes successfully. Let's quickly go through the build steps to see what happened during the build. First of all, CircleCI initialized the build environments. Next, CircleCI checked out the source code from the GitHub repository. Then, it created a separate environment for the build. Then, it installed Docker Compose. Finally, CircleCI started running our tests. That is the whole process of the build. That's it for the lecture, and I hope you have enjoyed it.